brought by prisoners who have been tortured with sleep deprivation for years now, every 30 minutes, being jarred with loud noises and metal banging on metal, every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day. So there's two people who brought lawsuits, and we're here to support their lawsuits against the California Department of Corrections. Stop the torture. We all know sleep deprivation is torture. It's internationally recognized as torture. It's no secret to the Department of Corrections that sleep deprivation is torture. So we're here to see the end of it. Every 30 minutes being jolted with these so-called checks and being deprived of sleep, which causes all kinds of physical and mental problems and increases the risk of chronic and even deadly health problems.
So, as you heard, this is follow-up to strikes that have been happening since 2011 all across California. Those are strikes that were prisoner-led. They were strikes that were prisoner-supported by family members on the outside, by friends, by loved ones, by all people in solidarity with the needs of prisoners who saw that prisoners, in particular prisoners in solitary confinement, are the most targeted people in our society right now. They are among the most oppressed. And we know that when prisoners rise up, when prisoners in solitary confinement rise up, when prisoners who are under sleep deprivation rise up and join each other in solidarity, when they cross racial boundaries, when they signed the agreement to end hostilities and came together, people stood behind them. Thousands of people across California stood up behind these prisoners and supported the strike of 30,000 prisoners or more.
We've seen recently where the most successful hunger strikes in American prison penal history took place here in California. Prisoners put their life on the line, the same prisoners who had been in Pelican Bay for 20, 30 years, a lot of whom we have worked with over the years. They went 60 days. 60 days without food. If I went 60 days without food, I would die. You would die. They were ready to die. It took 60 days for the Department of Corrections to say, well, let's negotiate. And then they started this whole thing about lying, doublespeak, the rigmarole of what they say they're going to do and what they do. They don't do anything. It keeps being the same thing. We're going to wake you up every half hour under the pretext that we're saving your life, we're saving you from you committing suicide, but in fact, these wake-up calls are driving prisoners mad.
And just as our case was settling back in 2015, a big change happened up there, and that was the beginning of these security welfare checks every half hour, which is 48 times a day for each prisoner in the SHU and ADSEG. And those of us on our team felt this was depriving our clients of their rights, and we went out and did a major investigation. We did succeed indirectly in getting some of the checks reduced in frequency to 1 hour at Pelican Bay SHU only, at the nighttime shift only, from 10 to 6 a.m. The Coleman case is a big lawsuit challenging mental health care in the state of California, filed in 1990. So this is the 28th year of that case. The argument was, and it was agreed and true, that the mental health care is below constitutional standards in California prisons. And one thread of that case has to do with suicides and suicide prevention, because suicides happen more frequently in solitary units than in general population. So the implementation's been horrible. There's no concern for the prisoners and their ability to sleep or function during the day. So whatever benefit is just being sabotaged by the officers that are implementing the checks.
By definition, prisoners are captive. They face retaliation. So, speaking to the women in Chowchilla segregation unit, I can speak to some of the forms of the retaliation for filing an objection to sleep deprivation. And it includes anything from frequent and destructive cell searches to physical punishment. Actually, when prisoners are transferred, they're shackled with their hands behind their back, and then the guard will push them, causing them to fall down. They can't brace themselves, fall down face first on the concrete, which is everywhere in prison, and then they drop kick them. They cause actual physical damage to prisoners who dare object to being woken up every half hour.
This sleep deprivation violates the U.S. constitutional 8th Amendment right to protection against cruel and unusual punishment. And it violates the California Penal Code 2652, which is also supposed to protect people from cruel and unusual punishment. Sleep deprivation and sleep disruption are known. There's a vast medical literature documenting that sleep disruption and sleep deprivation causes huge problems in mental and physical health. One of the things that most blew me away is it causes genetic defects in over 700 genes in less than 1 week of sleep deprivation, and these people have been sleep deprived for over 3 years.
I just want to close out by saying that, this case, the issue of sleep deprivation has been going on for a while, has been going on particularly since 2015 when the legal settlement was reached. And it was a way for the prison regime to repress, to attack the gains that were made by the prisoners that had been on hunger strike, that did all the organizing and waged resistance against their confinement. And I'm sure that this has been, mentioned, many people know this, but as of, I believe 2 weeks ago, all of the reps, the representatives that were at the forefront of the fight against solitary confinement were the ones that were released from solitary confinement after decades, have been put back into solitary, right? So think about that for a moment as we continue this struggle, as we continue our support on the outside, and the importance of continuing to fight and support the prisoners that are organizing with family, with loved ones. And us being here just shows that we are not going to let up. We're going to fight. Ever important for us to continue showing up. So I thank everyone for coming out here. Join us up in the courtroom, and we want to show all the support that we can, so that we'll get our victories steadily, slowly, and it's a protracted struggle. Thank you.